Oh my goodness gracious. We are tied up 1-1 in a best of 5, so that means that it is a best of 3.
Yes.
My name is Day 9.
And I am Husky Sean. I love that segue into it. Spawning over here on the left side. I'm leaning way back. You guys can't tell. But I am so excited for this shot. Anyway, spawning on the left side is going to be Taeja. Remember, he is on Team Slayers. He is not on Team Next. And down in the bottom center is going to be Slayers Boxer, who has now tied this up 1-1. He was down 0-1 in the last series. Taeja showing us some pretty solid play. Boxer showing us some inventive ways of dealing with Marine Marauder in that last game. So I don't know what to expect here, Sean. I feel like this series could still go either way, as neither player is absolutely decimating, through this series so far.
There's always that moment in gameplay when you have an extremely experienced player being watched by an inexperienced player. And you'll always hear a thing like, well, why doesn't he just get 50 Ravens and kill him with Hunter-Seeker missiles? Like one of those things.
That's my favorite mono battle strategy, actually.
Oh, God. The Raven mono battle.
Yeah, always
one
a good
of the strongest.
one.
Now, I will note, though, what is so cool about Boxer is that he pulls those strategies off. He knows how to get a quadrillion Ravens, 50 gorillion Ravens. I don't know how much a Brazilian
Sean, why are you
is.
so smart, Sean?
Well, I did study math.
That is true.
And I didn't do drugs as a child, and I stayed in school.
And now you're an adult. Has that changed?
Yeah, and I grew up to do commentary for video games full time. Yeah, that's why you get an education, guys.
There you go, guys. So in this game, it does look like we have the barracks going down. Gas has already been started by Boxer. And look at this, we don't have any gas coming out of Taeja. Are you expecting an early expand once again here, Sean?
I am indeed Dr. Husky. Looks like we might see a similar structure to the last game, but keep in mind, it's going to be a little bit of difference going on, because on Terminus, this is a smaller choke to defend than on Shattered Temple. There's also these backdoor rocks, which can be a threat, but it mainly helps the defending player that he can get this very fast third base. And you heard us say in the last game, you do need to take lots and lots of bases in this matchup.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one thing about this map that most people know by now, but it does play a huge role, I would say especially in TvT, is that Boxer, his main is going to be closer to his opponent, but his opponent, Taeja, will be expanding towards Boxer. That means that he can drop that third base should it go down fairly early. And then also, dropping Blue Flame Hellions there is going to be fairly safe compared to dropping them in the main. It's going to be a lot of surface area for Taeja to have to cover with his Marines or whatever he decides to get in this game. But right now, his expansion is about halfway done. Boxer, once again, going to be doing that factory, and I would be not surprised here to see the Blue Flame, also a Reaper here, Sean.
Like the exact same build every single game. And it's kind of funny because on Tal'Darim Malter you can go herp derp, there is a backdoor derp entrance, you can just pop up in there.
True that.
Shattered Temple, maybe it's a little more open, and then you realize, no, he just likes this build order. This actually delights me more than it disappoints me. Many people talk about, he doesn't think about the map. Derp, 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 etc.
Right, yeah, yep.
That is going to be the word of the strategy description of the day. But what excites me so much about it is it means that this is a versatile strategy that is founded on smart transitions throughout the game and less on some sort of one-time voila-esque strategy that will only work once. Boxer narrowly losing game 1. Putting on a good performance in Game 2. What can he do here in Game 3 on Terminus?
Now, we do have two barracks once again going down from Taeja. He saw last game, and he was like, wow, I lost that. Let's go ahead and do the exact same build, try and make it work this time. Not to say that the build is bad at all. It's just, again, Taeja's going to have to be aggressive here. He's going to have to worry about Hellions running by, and it's all about positioning. And this is the part that's tough, is using the Marines, the few Marines that you have to hold this off. And now we see a Hellion Reaper marching in, could snipe that Mule. That Mule is wasting time already. The Mule goes down. Sean, that is a lot of minerals that will never be mined. This will eventually, of course, get held off because Taeja, I don't think, is going to lose to the first 2 units. But look at that, Sean. He has to fly back home, pack his bags, and move back in with his mother. So this is not a good situation for
the
him.
Reverse early expand. I'm going to go from 2 base to 1 base. At the 6-minute mark, I'm going to build a command center out here so that way I can lift it and safely land it in my main. Again, a strategy built on smooth transitions.
Dude, Boxer Man, though, that was a very, very good build from him. Now, the supply counts are going to be even here, but Boxer doing the damage he needs, and he's just now expanding himself. So, if Taeja continues making SCVs, he will still be ahead in the unit production. We do have combat shields on the way from Taeja right now. It does look like Boxer going to be leaving just a couple of units right here outside the natural. 3 Hellions. and that's always going to be a threat here to those. Sorry, Sean, I commandeered the mouse there and messed up the camera. We're fine now. Is that a bunker going down? Is he forced to turtle? Yes, he is. So there's going to be 100 minerals.
He's having that fear.
Yep, after losing that expansion. And here comes the drop right now. Now, is the unit positioning going to be as good as last game? Right now, he's only got Marines. Combat Shield's not quite done yet.
No,
look at the unloading right here.
He's going to have a great arc. And it looks like Boxer saw that and said, nope. And immediately pulls up and runs away. And, you know, it's kind of funny. If you are up against this Blue Flame Hellion strategy, part of you just wants to say, well, what units do I build? They seem to be unstoppable. They seem to do so much damage, but the important thing is that no matter what you're up against, it's about timings. You saw that Taeja, at the 7-minute mark, that's when we started to really spread the Marines out and get that fear of the Blue Flame, because it couldn't have possibly been finished any sooner than that. And that is what is allowing him to know when he can move forward with these expansions, when he has to keep these units back into his main. Does he have that concussive shell done? Ooh, that's going to help quite a bit, or that's going to hurt quite a bit, the fact that he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I'm noticing.
Love to slow down the Hellions.
Yeah, I'm noticing in the last games he did go for combat shield stim as well before that slow, and I mean getting the other upgrades take a long time, so maybe he's just trying to get those out earlier. Look at this from Boxer. He's playing very smart here. He hasn't been losing a single Hellion. He's just dropping time and time again, kind of forcing his opponent to stay sitting in his base. Right now he is going to have a second Raven as well. I'm wondering if he's going to go for a third Raven again, because I mean this is almost identical to what we saw in the last game. I mean, it's similar types of builds out of both these players, and there is indeed a third Raven there. So Sean, this is something that just seems to be Boxer's reaction to the Marine Marauder type play, and it's going to be up to Taeja to do something slightly different or do more drops or something more so than what we saw in the last game.
I mean, the timing of Boxer's build is just magnificent. We've seen the same timing from Taeja again and again, as this is one of these styles that has been popular since the early days, even Marine King Prime popularizing this basic technique. But what will be the interaction of all these Blue Flame Hellions with the Ravens? And there it is, running up again. Oh no, Mule's looking vulnerable. He lined him up.
Wasn't able to do massive damage there, Sean. And like we were saying, you can unload in that third base. That's exactly what he did, a safe haven to run up there into the natural. And the surface area you have to cover in Taeja's position is just phenomenal. It's astounding how much space that he's going to have to try and cover with just Marines and Marauders. We saw the Marauders slow on the way now, but Taeja has held on. It's 84 supply to 88, so neither player is going to be, you know, hugely in the lead, but a lot of it's going to come down to the expansion timing being delayed. Boxer throwing down those two factories, very similar to what we saw last time.
Wow.
And he definitely has this planned out, Sean. Look, he's gotten 3 Ravens again. He's not winging it. This is something that he's planned and has played out time and time again.
And it looks like we're going to see the massive add-on swap, but wow, Taeja really trying to sprint forward. He's going to get the chance to take out a couple of those units, and then with the hot pickup manages to pull back yet again, and there's even a medevac in this mix for Boxer. The front's looking dangerously vulnerable. But Boxer looks like he's just going to be doing some stepping back and forth action. We'll be indeed going in for another drop, but with a Raven this time. I do think he could maybe have done a little damage. No, the Marauder count's a little too high, and Taeja once again on the move out. It's going to be a perfect counter drop timing by Boxer.
Yeah, if Boxer can get in there without the units into defensive position, which right now Taeja looked like he was going to back up, but decided against it. Here comes the drop right now. Is there anything in position to defend it? There are some units here, but Blue Flame Hellions are still pretty good. It does look like Taeja all the way across the center of the map as well. And are the SCVs going to get taken out here, Sean? It looks like SCVs getting on the action. Nice surround with the SCVs, but the Hellions got to be doing a little bit of damage. Now Boxer's all the way inside his main base.
Oh.
All those units get taken out, including the Raven. All that remains is going to be that medevac. So now the supply count for Boxer is definitely hurting. He had planned on keeping all 3 of those Ravens alive for that point defense drone. A scan gonna go down. Does Taeja like what he sees? He does. The siege mode just now starting for Boxer, so that's not done anytime soon. This could be tough. This is exactly what Taeja needs to do.
Wow, murders that first tank, but those Marines lined up very nicely, and now we have the Vikings popping out, and it looks like Slayer's Boxer will be able to obliterate this push. And this is, again, an extreme discomfort for your Marine Maraudering player to scan, see only 2 tanks, no siege, run up, pick it off, and still lose to this extremely unusual composition from Boxer.
Yeah, that was like a bonfire of dead Marines there as they were perfectly placed, but you got to hand it to Boxer for focus firing them down, not just letting his units 1A attack. And look at this, a slightly hidden expansion up in the top center, but it looks like Boxer taking his much safer third. And the reason Taeja is not taking his own third is because drop potential right there is extremely vulnerable if you're Taeja in this situation, so he knows he has to try and hide when there. This map is huge, so even though Hellions are fast, they're still going to have a hard time making it all the way across the map to spot that. This map is a huge macro map in the amount of expansions and distance that it has, so I think this is really smart from Taeja. He needs to catch up in expansions, potentially get an extra expansion. Is the siege mode done for Boxer? It looks like it is. I heard the sound of them sieging up right there, and that means it's going to be a... Yeah.
Good ear indeed. Husky generally casts with his eyes closed. You'll see him do things like lick his finger and hold it up in the air and be like he's transitioning to battle cruisers. I feel it in the wind.
And then everyone's like, he's had battle cruisers on the map for about 20 minutes now. And again, it does look like the expansion. Are those SCVs transferring over? Yes, it is, Sean. So he'll be even in expansions, but that expansion will be very vulnerable if Boxer finds it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in general, in any matchup, if you have the faster, more mobile army, you should be expanding to farther away locations. That allows you to exploit your speed and your mobility. You can go for a counterattack if he tries to go for it and he cannot catch up. You can always run around, but most importantly, it just takes him with his slow army a little bit too long to get there. We always see this done by Zerg players, but it's increasingly becoming common for Terrans and Protosses. Protosses who go Blink Stalkers expand very far away. The big key for Taeja is that he needs to have a good, solid lockdown on the center of the map. And that's exactly what we see in terms of that Watchtower placement. Going for those drops, continuing to just churn units out of these 5 barracks.
Now, Sean, I've been looking at the production tab. I see +1 attack on the way for Taeja, as well as siege mode. Do you think it's a wise choice for him to go for siege tanks now? Because, I mean, Boxer's going to outnumber him in the tanks almost no matter what happens. So are tanks going to be a viable transition here for Taeja?
I mean, I definitely think the tanks are going to help. It's going to force the Hellions to be a little bit more cautious as they move out on the field. It will slow Boxer down. Boxer will, of course, win in those direct engagements with his stronger force, but that is not his goal with the siege tanks, to win the direct engagements. Taeja is just trying to delay and just build up as much muscle as he can now that he is having a little bit of a base lead.
And trying to do some harassment here with the Hellions. That's going to get cleaned up. That is not a big deal. I mean, Boxer's at 178 supply to his opponent's 171, so both players to be in they're going to be in a pretty good spot. A potential drop over here. This is Marines and Marauders, not Hellions inside there. And I noticed Boxer, yeah, he's been throwing down a lot of missile turrets. I was looking at the production tab. He was producing 4 or 5 at a time, so he knows seemingly that the drops are going to be timed at around the 17-minute mark, and he is absolutely right. So both players is vying for position, but at this point, it's going to come down to unit composition and positioning, especially with those siege tanks. Can Taeja run in and get a nice concave to take those out? We saw last time what happens when you go against upgraded siege tanks of Boxer. Right now, Taeja does have his own +1/+1, and Boxer has the +1 on the tanks. Now, can Taeja buy enough time for his +2/+2 to finish? I don't know. The time is going to be ticking away here as Boxer is maxed out now. So is Taeja. So, Sean, this is anyone's game at this point. It depends how well the drops do, and I feel like we're going to see one major battle. But if Taeja can sit on these 2 additional expansions he's getting, he will be able to re-macro much quicker.
But Boxer's getting the chance to walk into some great angles. It looks like Taeja going to sack a little bit of ground advantage and just allow Boxer to waltz up here. A little bit of an unusual decision. Would have thought he would be pincering with these units a little bit more early. And there's the sensor tower now finishing. Boxer knows what's coming. Will he have enough to be ready for it? Wow, a complete retreat by Boxer, and Taeja doesn't even have to engage.
Yeah, Boxer just retreating to the center there, no reason, because those missile turrets they threw down, the timing of it was impeccable. And look at the scans. Boxer knows his army is out of position, because you got to remember, Taeja has about half his army on the left side. Now, it does look like Taeja going to be engaging this right here. The siege tanks, of course, not in siege mode quite yet. The point defense drone is forcing this back. Now, can Taeja get in position? His army is completely split in half here. This is not a comfortable position. Is he going to counterattack or do a full retreat all the way to the top center? Boxer realizing, oh, there's units down here as well, so he's got to come down here. Now, if Boxer gets surrounded, it could spell disaster for him, but so far these units are softened quite heavily. The medevac's not able to get a chance to heal them up, and even an army on the right side trying to lock stuff down, so Taeja is split up. His siege tanks are in siege mode, though, but it does look like Boxer will be able to plow through here. He does have the point defense drone absorbing a lot of that damage. These 3 tanks will get cleaned up. The supply counts are starting to favor Boxer quite heavily in these engagements. Taeja, I feel like he had a good idea, Sean, trying a Zerg surround. guess that's a way to put it. But his army just got so far separated, he was never able to engage.
But he managed to hit it when he's unsieged. Boxer's going to run out of those point defense drones eventually, but right now the overall strength of Boxer's army is gigantic. But as we go to the unit counting station, we see the Hellion count is getting quite low. Only a couple Hellions on the field. Boxer going to use them to split off and obliterate this northern expansion, just waltzing right up into the main. Boxer right now in a tactically brilliant position, but it's not over yet. Taeja can possibly get into a great position, but oh my gosh, this is brutal.
Yeah, losing these SCVs is not going to help out. Given this expansion has been mining for a while, it did buy him time to get his third expo. It looks like Boxer going to be taking a fourth base towards the center of the map. I'm thinking he's doing that simply because, well, his army is going to be slow with those siege tanks. He knows he can contain his opponent right now and safely expand to that location. I think it's a very smart choice. Upgrading that to a planetary fortress, Sean, which is really good against the Marine Marauder, because when the Marine Marauder run in there, at least the planetary can shoot it. Instead, if you're going up against siege tanks, the planetary fortress is not going to be able to shoot that far, and it's 189 supply. A small engagement down here. Can these Marauders take out a lot of tanks? Was able to focus fire there. That was really good focus firing from Taeja, but I mean, his army is starting to get smaller and smaller. He does have a small amount of units right here. He will be in range of that planetary, which will force Boxer to respond eventually. And look at this from Taeja. Got to be swinging around. These units are not sieged yet, but is it going to be enough?
We do see that the tanks are isolated. He has to land the Vikings to get that extra bit of support, and it helps huge. Taeja in very bad position. At the north, we see Blue Flame Hellions have managed to take down almost half the life of that single orbital command. This third base is really going to be one of the only successful mining operations for Taeja for the time being. But oh no, Boxer's tanks undefended again. Oh, Boxer loses all his tanks almost immediately. Only has 2 out at the front of the field. And in that unit counting station, we see amazingly 6 total tanks for Boxer. Far fewer than he would have expected at this point in time, and Taeja is going to be able to chew into this expansion. You have to be so careful to keep the tank count high all game long. Anytime the tanks get isolated, you are running the risk of losing huge momentum.
It does look like Boxer going to be dropping down here as well, but Taeja with a phenomenal siege tank placement there, a phenomenal move as well, is bombarding this, killing so many SCVs with that last shot there. He's going to be able to lock that down. He may be losing some of his own SCVs here. He does respond in time to deal with this. Boxer is focused more on keeping his expansion alive. The drop on the left side looks like it's going to be cleaned up here, no problem. It does force the full retreat right there. But at this point, Taeja, I would say, was behind, but now he is able, with perfect positioning, to be in an okay spot. His +3/+3 is nearly done, and his positioning's pretty good, but that is a lot of tanks from Boxer right here.
Boxer's producing tanks 3 at a time in his main, has such great production capacity, but actually only has those 4 factories. Could definitely afford an additional 1 or even 2 if he manages that properly. Just slowly inching his way forward. Again, the direct engagement is not where Taeja wanted to get an advantage. He wants to try to isolate those tanks, get in a bad position, and amazingly enough, the orbital command does get lifted and is in retreat.
Yeah, and he's trying to land it to the right side. Boxer should know what's going on if he was watching those Hellions at all. But that other planetary fortress does still remain. There's no mining SCVs right there. At this point, though, it's going to be 130 supply to 162. Boxer still having the unit advantage and was able to take another base up here. I believe this is his 5th base, as he was able to hold on to that 4th there. And it looks like there's still slight bombarding going on, only on the gas, so that's not going to be a huge deal unless Taeja, I mean, right now he's on 5 bases himself, but he's not mining very heavily at all. So that's going to have to be one of his focuses here, is making a lot of workers to get caught back up. But Boxer's +3 siege mode has begun on the upgrades tab. You can see they're +3, and he has pushed this back. The expansion has been held, and Boxer, even after losing those units, was able to regain a little bit of center map control. And now, Sean, we're starting to see kind of the classic TvT, where a lot of siege tank positioning is playing a huge role here.
Yeah, but you can never understate how fragile of a situation this can be. I mean, Boxer looked like he was just going to 1A his way to victory.
Right.
He was looking like Protoss there for a second. Husky.
Nice.
Got him. Pow.
Shapow.
But of course, we saw that just a few off engagements where there was 8 or 9 Marauders able to engage the tanks while they were undefended cleaned up Boxer's tank count, and Boxer nearly lost his extra base. But as we see, Banshees in early beta always had a minimum of 20 kills before dying. And this is going to be one of those beta Banshees I'm envisioning. It looks like Taeja, though, is having some great repair control.
Yeah, I mean, what else can Taeja do at this point? Those SCVs are probably set to auto repair. Yes, he did, just to keep them alive as long as possible. He's obviously these SCVs aren't going to kill this Banshee until they can get some missile turrets going. But at this point, I mean, the army is so slow to get up there that he may just end up losing this expansion. This is so smart from Boxer, utilizing the late game Banshee. I mean, Sean, we're at 26 minutes into the game and he randomly gets one Banshee. It's not so random though, because he's seeing exactly what's going on here. This SCV looks like he will be able to survive here. Boxer completely forgetting about this Banshee. So Taeja did have good control there. These Hellions were able to lock down that expansion, but here comes a terrifying push from Boxer.